musicians, you're comedians, you're jugglers, but you always save the space for the raconteur, ladies and gentlemen. You save the space for the storyteller, the great storytellers. Will Rogers among them. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lovely, sexy, hot, beautiful, smart, talented. Did I mention hot? Did I say she was like fucking wicked smart too? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, DianaS. It's Diana, because I've been drinking. I've been drinking Cognac and Lager, the official beer of fun. The guy who's booing, I know who you are and I'm coming back to fuck you up.
So, I'm probably not going to take my clothes off. I said probably, we'll see. I'm going to tell you a story about something that happened to me when I was living in the East Village. There's this guy named Mark who lives in my building, and he was a child actor. He was in a movie that I loved 15 years ago, and he knows a lot about movies, which he calls films. He has long, matted hair, and sometimes he stands outside our building, just frozen, staring at nothing. Later, I'll be like, I saw you standing outside, frozen, staring at nothing. And he'll say, I was meditating on a character. I've never met anyone like this guy. He's got zero game. I like that. Amen. Yeah. We start hanging out, and he tells me, you know you're not my type. Right?
That's game.
And I say, what's your type? And he says, blondes. In bikinis. And that's fine, because Mark's not my type either. Like, I'm into guys who shower. And I love how there's like the delayed laugh of the really drunk people. So I'm also not into guys who say things like, romantic love is a Hollywood construct. But I'm thrilled to have met Mark, you know, like I'm happy to know him, I'm happy that we're friends, because I want a male friend. Like, my boyfriend and I just broke up because we thought we'd be better off as friends, and we're not friends at all. You know, we don't even talk. And I want to believe that friendship between a man and a woman is possible. Plus, I just love Mark because he's so weird. Like when we met, he was walking with a cane and he seemed to need it, but then other times he doesn't seem to need it. Like sometimes I'll just see him like running around the East Village holding the cane like a spear. So like there's fun weird, you know? And then there's like, I keep corpses in my basement weird. And I'm not really sure which one we're dealing with. Like, one night we're at a dive bar near the building and we're drinking and I'm getting a little weepy about my ex. And Mark says, you know, you don't have to feel like this. And I'm like, really? And he's like, I never get upset. And I'm like, how? And he's like, well, do you remember that hiker who got trapped under a boulder? And he had to cut off his arm to escape. I'm like, yeah? He's like, I did that too. With my emotions. So that's a red flag. But sometimes trusting your instincts can be such a buzzkill, you know? So we just keep drinking, and I get kind of drunk, and then we go back to the building, and I realize I've locked myself out of my apartment. And I'm so unhappy about this. It's 3 in the morning, and like locksmiths are so judgmental, you know, and so I'm getting upset, and Mark's like, don't worry, I got this, right? And he runs up to the roof, climbs down the fire escape, in through my window, and opens my apartment from inside. And he says to me, in this building, the windows don't lock. I can get into your apartment whenever I want. But I keep hanging out with him until eventually 2 uncomfortable facts emerge. The first is that Mark is delusional. He says to me, you know, Charlie and I are the greatest film stars of our generation. Mark hasn't been in a movie in 10 years. Plus, I'm like, who's Charlie? He's like, Charlie Sheen.
He's winning.
The second fact is that Mark isn't as committed to our friendship as I thought, because he says to me, even though you're not my type, I guess I would make love to you. Then I start avoiding him. So he's calling me, I'm not answering, he's texting me, I'm not responding to his text messages, so he finally calls me at work one night. At the time, I'm working in a bar. So I answer, and he says, I just swallowed a bottle of pills. It's all your fault. Hangs up. Okay, so I'm thinking, all right, I gotta call 911. I pick up the phone, but then he calls right back and says, and if I die, don't let them put my face on the cover of People magazine. Now I know he's faking, and I'm pissed. So the next day, when I run into him in the building, I say, leave me alone. Which on Planet Mark translates to, please stalk me mercilessly. So from then on, every day I get a letter under my door from Mark, like I'm a subscriber to his craziness. The names he calls me via letter, text message, voicemail, standing outside my apartment screaming and banging on the door include evil bitch, brazen tart, and succubus. So I Google succubus. A succubus is a demon disguised as a woman who will seduce a man into having lots of sex with her until all the sex makes him die. So I go to the cops, and I go to the cops and I tell them what's going on, and I show them some of the text messages, and they say, "You want us to arrest him?" And I say, "No. I don't want to engage with him. I don't want to face him in court. I just want him to go away, you know?" And I keep thinking, yeah, I should probably move. You know, my stalker lives in my building. But I don't want to move. I just keep thinking, this whole thing has to blow over. Well, soon after that day, the new guy I'm dating comes over. And as soon as we leave the building together, there's Mark, meditating on a character. And I don't say anything, because like when you're dating someone new, you know, you want to be like, I'm fun and carefree. You don't want to be like, you don't want to be like, there's the guy who thinks I'm a homicidal sex demon. But like I see Mark see us, and like I see him, he gives me this look like I'm about to stalk the living fuck out of you, you know? And you know that look? And we go to dinner, and when we get back to my apartment, someone has smashed my door with a hammer and drawn a cross on it. And the guy I'm with is like, someone drew a cross on your door. I'm like, that's weird. And he's like, no, but isn't that a hate crime? And I'm like, or maybe it's a love crime for Jesus. But like that whole week I can't sleep. I'm so upset, and I wind up calling this guy I've known since I was a kid, like a real friend, and telling him everything. And he says, do you want someone to push him down the stairs, you know, like an accident? And I say, no. But thank you. And instead what I do is I pack up my bags that week, and I turn in my key, and I move to an apartment where my window locks. In Chelsea, where men don't stalk women. And the buildings fly flags made of rainbows. Thank you.